Hi everyone, it is Marianne here from Yarnwork Studio, and today I'm going to show you how I knit two socks at the same time using one long circular needle. So before I get into it, I just want to say I'm a little under the weather. Normally I'd be showing my face, but I'm just not feeling great, so I'm not going to put my face on camera and my voice is a little shaky. Anyway, so this is the Curio sock pattern from Drea Renee Knits, and it's one of the latest ones that she's come out with as of December 2021 right now. And this sock here, I just want to talk about the fibers and stuff first. This is two pairs of socks. I made both sets with just one skein of each color I'm going to talk about, and I probably have enough to do something like this almost over again. So just to give you a little idea of it, I am using sport and fingering weight yarn. So what we've got here in this sock, you can go get the pattern online. I'm not going to tell you how to make it in this video. I'm just going to show you how to do two at the same time on circular needles the way that I do it. So these are toe-up socks. It starts with the Turkish cast on, which a lot of people have found really interesting on my TikTok lately. But it has a nice seamless cast on here and then increases, and then you work in pattern. You place an afterthought heel, which is something that I can cover in a different video. And then you work all the way to the top, and then you add the heel afterwards. And the heel has a nice Kitchener stitch bind off as well. So again, it's a seamless look to it. It feels amazing. So I did these two first, which is a large size for my 23-year-old son. And what I did these one at a time just to make sure I understood the pattern and everything. And then I did these two on the same needle, which is what you're going to see in the video today. So two at a time I find much better because I don't get second sock syndrome, which is very common. It's kind of like, you know, being on Sleeve Island, they call it. But yeah, it's the same pattern. I just made it smaller, and it's for a much smaller person. This is for his girlfriend who has more like a women's size 6.5 maybe foot. So it's a lot smaller in size, but the pattern idea is the same. I'll show you what the top of the sock looks like, and hopefully these are Christmas gifts, so hopefully I can also squeeze in at some point, if you follow my social, pictures of them on their actual feet, which would be very nice to see. But yeah, I love this toe. It's probably my favorite toe, the Turkish cast on with the increases on the side. The fibers that I'm using, this light color is a DK weight. It is from Estelle Yarns. It's called Eco Tweed DK, and the color is natural. And then this brownish color here is a fingering weight. It's from Hello Stella Fibers in Hamilton, Ontario, and it's a burnt umber color. It's also on her tweed base. And it feels amazing. What I did after I did it, I just washed it, let it soak for a while, and then I blocked it on some sock blockers that I grabbed off Amazon that I'll probably link below. But let's get started. I hope you enjoy this tutorial to figure out how you can do two socks at the same time, which makes sure that they are perfect, which is nice. They're going to be the exact same as each other. You can fix mistakes on both, but it will take obviously twice as long as doing one sock. But at the end, you'll have the whole pair done and ready to go. Okay, so when you're making two socks at a time, there's a couple things you need to do probably differently than you would normally be doing. The first is you need to use the magic loop method to knit your socks. If you don't know what it is, you can look it up, but the magic loop method requires you to use circular needles with a really long tail. So this is the needle I'm going to use. This is actually just from Amazon. Cheap, sort of cost-effective bamboo needles that come from probably China. But I grabbed this set just to have a lot of extras with various tail lengths. So it's got a nice long tail. Normally I'd use my ChowGoo shorties, but because I'm doing two at once, I don't have enough cables right now because of other projects I have to make it long enough to do magic loop. So I'm going to use these needles. The other thing that's a little bit different is the yarn. So when you're doing two socks at the same time, what you actually need is two balls of each color to work from, or you can work from the inside, like a center pull and outside. I don't like to do that. So what I'm actually gonna do, these are my two colors. This is gonna be my main color. This is gonna be my contrast. I'm actually going to split these into 2 balls each. So I'm gonna end up with 4 so that each sock individually has its own yarn source. And that's a really important step so that you don't get it too tangled and make it too complicated for yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna use my ball winder and I'm just gonna wind off about half of each of these and set them aside. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm just going to start with one of them. I'm going to feed it into my ball winder. I'm just gonna put it on my finger here so it can hopefully rotate. And let's see how this goes. So it's just pulling the yarn off the ball that I've already wound. And I'm gonna make a whole separate ball. I'm just gonna keep going until it looks like it's about halfway. I have no idea how much I'll need. I've already made 2 full adult size, male size 10 socks with this color combination. And this is all from the same original skein, which is great. Okay, so I'm doing the Curio sock pattern by Dre Renee Knits. And in this pattern, it's toe up. So that's where I'm gonna start with a Turkish cast on. Again, if you wanna grab the pattern, go for it. I'm not gonna give away the pattern details, but this will work for any sock pattern as long as you can follow the steps. So the first step is gonna be to cast on. And for this Turkish cast on, it's a slip knot, which I do by working yarn from front to back, and then I bring it across the front again, and then I yarn over from back to front, and I pull my first loop over my second and tug. I'm actually gonna go ahead and do a second one using my second ball of yarn to have that ready, and you'll see why in a second. But I'm gonna just pull it off and leave it there. So with this cast on, what we do for the Turkish cast on is we take the total number of stitches we need, which for me is 24, and then we cut it in half. So we need 12, and we're gonna do 12 wraps, and I'm gonna go front to back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there we've got 12 wraps. And now all I'm gonna do is set this whole ball aside attached to here, and I'm gonna repeat with the other ball of yarn. And this is why we have 2, so we can have sort of 2 separate socks being worked together. Okay, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Beautiful. So now, what we're gonna do, flip it over, and this is where you can rearrange your yarn balls if you want to so that it stays attached with the right one in the right order. You want to avoid tangling. That's the biggest trick to doing 2 socks at the same time. It's basically yarn management. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, and this is gonna look awkward, I promise, because these needles don't have a very good join here for the cable to the needle. So I'm gonna have to awkwardly tug them through. There we go. And if you're thinking that's going to be really awkward all the way along, it's actually not. It's just the slip knots themselves that we're having the most trouble getting through. So the way Magic Loop works is you're actually going to pull your bottom needle all the way through so that you have a long enough cord that you can come and use this for your active knitting. And then over here on the other side, it's just hanging out. So you want a really long cord. I usually use about a 32-inch cord for the Magic Loop method. Anyways, so we've got our 12 on here. I'm just gonna double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna knit into each of these. So there's gonna be 12 knit. I knit continental. I'm a picker or grabber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and then we're done with this side. So we've done only one side of the cast on, and we're going to go and do the front of the next one. Then we're going to go around the back and do the other side of both. And that's sort of the secret to 2 at a time socks. All right, so switching over to the next one. So we're going to do the exact same thing again. Make sure we're not twisted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. So all I'm going to do is slide this down a little bit, and then I'm going to work here. I'm going to work the same 12 knits across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. So also with magic loop, you can see that they're 2 separate socks here, but also with magic loop, the other trick is to make sure that you then pull it through so that you get your needles side by side again. There's still two separate socks on 2 separate yarn balls. And then we rotate. And so I'm just going to move my yarn again and turn it this way. So all I did was go, and now when we pull out this bottom needle here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pulling it out, and then we're working the opposite side. So this is a sock that I just went across here, and now I'm going to be working the back of this one and then the back of this one, and that's 1 full round on both socks. So again, make sure you're using the right yarn. So the yarn that's connected to here, we're going to pull this needle back out again, much smoother than the last time. Now with Turkish cast on, there's always the slip knot that we put on that you don't actually need anymore. So you can just drop it and you can pull it through with your working yarn later. So now I'm just going to do the 12 across again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and it's being stubborn, 12. Okay, and then I'm going to move over to the yarn that's here, and again I'm just going to do the same thing. So it's all about needle management, yarn management. So I'm going to just let the slip knot fall off because we don't need it, and then I'm going to do my 12. 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that basically completes your Turkish cast on. I'm just going to slide my needles back over here. Yes, it's basically just a lot of pulling on the cables of your needles. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got now. And I'm going to I'll show you the slip knot here. I just tug it with the yarn end, and then that's fine. And then you just weave this in when you're done your whole sock. I'm going to again flip them over. So now we've done 1 full round. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. So now we have 24 stitches. Oh, it's falling off. 24 stitches for this sock, 24 stitches for this sock, and it'll get worked in the round. This one will get worked in the round with this yarn ball. This one will get worked in the round with this yarn ball. But the trick is you're going to work across here, then across here using the other yarn, then back here, and then across here. And that's 1 complete round. So one thing you might want to do is put a locking stitch marker right here. I don't have one nearby, so I can't show you, so that you know which side is the start of the round, because stitch markers in here aren't as helpful because in Magic Loop they're going to kind of fall all over the place unless you're using locking stitch markers onto stitches. So what I'm going to do next, just with the anatomy of a sock, is I'm going to do my toe increases. Again, this is the start of the round, the end of the round, start of the round, end of the round. Start of the round, end of the top needle, start of the round, end of the top needle, and then this would all be back needle, back needle. So I'm going to knit around once so that you can see what that looks like, but then the idea is you just grow your sock toe in the shape, so it's going to be kind of like a V, and then you do your whole body and you keep going like that, and I'll come back when it's time for the heel to show you what that looks like. Okay, so here are the two socks being knit up at once on the same needles, but again, they each have their own yarn sources. So I've got two sets of each color going, and you always knit, you know, this sock with these balls and this sock with these balls. So I'll do a couple rows in action at this point so that you can see what it looks like. I did put a locking stitch marker just here to show that this is the side that's the start of the row. In this pattern, you don't really need it because you know what's the start of the row, typically based on the color work, because every other row is a different color, but it's helpful to have just as a reminder, so that's a good tip. Okay, so again, because it's two socks at the same time, we're going to work the top needle in this magic loop method with these balls, and then the top needle with these, and then the back with these, and the back with these. So let's do a row here, and I'm getting very close to the heels. So while I do the row, I'll just talk a little bit about yarn management, and then I'll talk about the heels as well. So I am on to a row of the brown color for me. This is a burnt umber. So again, you just pull out the back needle, and then you use it to work the pattern as it's written. Again, if you want to make these socks, go and buy Andrea Mowry's pattern. But I will just show you exactly what I'm doing here to knit across. I have found that it feels like they work up a lot quicker when I'm working 2 at a time. Mainly because I don't feel like at the end I'm gonna have this big daunting amount of work to do again. And you also don't have to write down everything that you do for like how many rows to make them the same, because you're doing them at the same time, which is really nice. Okay, so I just did the row across there, top needle with the brown. Now I'm gonna switch over to this brown, this ball over here, and I'm gonna do that same knit. One of my tips about yarn management is just to always make sure that they're not tangled up in each other. And I'll show you the biggest time is when you kind of flip it over. Okay, so I've got these almost untangled. There we go. The better you can manage your yarn, the easier it will be. So now I've still got this needle going. Sometimes I cinch it so that there's a little bit of cable gap but not much between. And then again, I'm doing the exact same thing, just with the other yarn source. Oops, I messed up already. So I do a lot of couch knitting, and so managing the balls is a little bit harder on the couch because they can kind of roll around, but I make it work. So I'm just gonna go across my top needle pattern. And then when I flip, there's some yarn management involved here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna flip over. And when I flip over, what I'm gonna be very careful to do is to have the yarn separate. So I've got the ones from this sock going over here along the back, and the ones from this sock I have pulled in front just to keep them sort of separate so they don't tangle back here. And then what I need to do, I need to pull the front needle, which I need to pull that one so it's nice and short. Then I need to pull the back one out so I have length to start knitting again. And then I'm grabbing the correct brown, the one that's attached over here. So again, we've now flipped it over. Now we're working the back needle of the same sock that we just worked the front needle of. Work my way across. Okay. And now I'm going to be working from this yarn over here, which what I could do easily is actually just swap these two so that I've got my working yarn coming over in this direction because we're on this side now. So if I've got a nice flat surface, I like to just swap the yarn. And then we'll work it across, and then we'll take a closer look. But really, the yarn management is the most important part. So let's take a closer look, and then we'll talk about the heel. All right, so there we go. So here we've got our Turkish cast on here, a nice and sort of seamless toe. It's gonna be very strong. And then your increases along the sides that make the toe shape. This is just, I can tell these are going to be beautiful socks. They're a Christmas gift, so they're not for me, but I might just have to make myself a pair of these as well. Front and back are the same. In this pattern, I'm going to place an afterthought heel. I'm almost at that point. I'm probably a couple rows from it. And then all I'm going to do is the same thing on both socks each time. And then afterwards, once I bind off, I will pick up the heel spot for just one and work it, and then the other and work it. If you were working the heel like a typical short row heel or heel flap and gusset type sock, then you would just work it once each time So every row you do, you just do it twice. And then when you're done, you have 2 socks instead of having to then make another one. So let me clean it up a little bit, but this is definitely my recommended #1 way to make socks. They're beautiful. Again, this is a curio sock pattern by Dre Renee Knits that you can find online. And this is Estelle Eco Tweed DK for the natural color that I think is called natural. And then this brown is a indie dyer called Hello Stella. And it is her tweed fingering weight yarn in burnt umber. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Again, I would love it if you would come and be part of the conversations that we have on Instagram. I'm also getting into TikTok a lot lately. So if you're on TikTok, go find me there because I put a lot of little tutorials of little things like these Turkish cast on toe-ups. And you know, I have a lot of fun on there. I find it really more interactive and more educational. So if you're not on TikTok, I encourage you to get on it. But please follow me on social. Leave a comment for me. Subscribe for new videos. I haven't done a lot of videos in the past year, but I plan to really crank it up because I have spent a lot of time figuring out what the heck is going on with knitting because I was a crocheter and I find it really tricky. There's a steep learning curve when you go from crochet to knit, and I'm going to start putting a lot more content around that, as well as some of the things that I've learned along the way because there's always so much to learn. But thanks for watching, thanks for being part of my community, and I hope you have a great day.